A look behind the scenes and enter the impossible for the Between Two Minds podcast with our hosts, Judge Mentalist and Bernardo Rodriguez. Can they really tell you what you're thinking?
Good evening, everybody. It is Judge Mentalist here. I think it's probably evening or at least late afternoon for everybody that we're broadcasting to. But although in a minute, it will be AM in the UK. So good morning in advance to anybody watching from the UK, or maybe evening because you're still up. This is Judge Mentalist. I am here doing another amazing interview and kind of just promo pump here for the upcoming Performing Hypnosis Summit in 2025. And this is not just a pump session for the 2025 Performing Hypnosis session. This is also a revisit of the Between Two Beers version of the Between Two Minds podcast. Because if anybody watched and remembers when we did this, except we were sitting side by side at a table, one camera, at the Michigan Hypnosis Conference back in September, Mr. Richard Cole and I were sharing a couple of tasty beverages and decided that we would continue that trend here tonight. So feel free. It is afternoon or evening, most places that are watching this. If you want to partake with us, feel free to do so. I will give a plug, only because it's a self-serving plug, to what I am about to crack open here. This is called Attack of the Strawberry Blonde, and it's a really cool looking label here. And the self-serving plug is for the brewer, which is a place called Cult Classic Brewing. And this place it's in Maryland. It's about an hour and a half from me. It's in a town called Stevensville, Maryland. This is not a paid plug. It just seems to make sense that we're talking about this. And well, it's kind of a paid plug. These guys took, and they're either leasing or purchased, I don't know, nor is it relevant to my knowledge base to know, an old grocery store. And they turned it into a brewery and a tasting room and a kitchen. And then they had enough space left over that they've got an entire performance space, proper stage, sound booth in the back, lighting rig. 90% of the time, what they're booking there are bands that are touring in through the area. And tomorrow night, there's going to be a little show happening there called Between Two Minds. So this is actually something that I picked up from them the last time that we performed there. Really awesome venue. So shout out to them. And yeah, what are you having, Mr. Richard Cole, that hypnotist guy?
Well, thanks very much, Joe Beth. Today, I will be partaking of the Myers Creek Fireside Winter Warmer. The Myers Creek Brewing Company is local to me right here in Belleville, Ontario. They opened at probably the smartest time to open a brewery, 3 months before COVID. And they started out by selling their beers outside of for people coming to the patio and sitting outside. It was fantastic. And then they opened up a tap room, and very similarly, it's a smaller tap room, really cozy, brick on the inside. They have an amazing bar top, which is like one of those epoxy bar tops that you can see through. It's pebbles from the Moira River, which is a river that, it's beautiful. The guy who put that together, Rick, he's a fantastic carpenter with a great name. The Fireside Winter Warmer, it's seasonal. They only make it, they only sell it during the winter. It's a beautiful, beautiful dark. It's a dark lager. It's a dark ale. I think you can see it there. I am, of course, drinking it out of my Shipyard Brewing Company Shipyard Brewing Company glass, which is Shipyard is in Kennebunkport, Maine, in the October. While everybody's sipping on their spiced lattes, I'm enjoying the Pumpkinhead Ale from Shipyard Brewing Company. But yeah, this is the Fireside Winter Warmer from Myers Creek Brewing Company. Might have to pack some in my luggage when I come to Las Vegas. Beautiful, beautiful.
So I see you're adorned for some cold weather there. And what temperature did you say it was before we started this thing?
My winter warmer warms me up from the inside because it's minus 14 degrees here. That's Celsius, which is like, I think, minus 482 million Fahrenheit or something. The brass monkeys are getting worried up here in Canada because it's that chilly just in my area. But could be worse. I could be out ice fishing or something.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that I was in bad shape with 28 degrees Fahrenheit, which is somewhere around, what, 0 Celsius?
Just below 0, yeah.
Yeah, just below, yeah. Oh. So, okay, I'll take it. But let's talk about someplace that's got substantially warmer weather than here, although not hot right now, but substantially warmer than what either of us are dealing with, and that is Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas, Nevada, woo!
I will be, let me try to do the math here. I'm probably going to be landing in Vegas 2 weeks from right now, give or take a few moments. So it is, I'm excited. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. Anybody who's watched any of these interviews, even the ones that I started doing 3 months ago, knows how fired up I am about PHS and everything that comes with it.
I think it's great when like-minded individuals who are passionate about what they do get together, whether it's in a conference or in just meeting up sometimes. I was looking when you said you're going to be there in 2 weeks. In a few hours, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be there in 2 weeks. I'm arriving a little bit earlier than you, so around just before noon on Thursday, because I like to get a whole day in. My wife actually, she had this great idea. One time I was going to a conference, and when flights fly out of YYZ, Toronto. And also the name of a Rush amazing rock band song. When flights fly out of Toronto, they get into Las Vegas around 8, 9, 10 p.m. So you pretty much burned a whole day. So my wife said to me one time, she says, "Why don't you pay just a little extra, leave earlier in the day so you have a whole day there?" And that's what I do now. I always listen to my wife.
Yeah, I call that journey time travel a little bit because I hop on a plane and I'm sitting in a seat for 5 hours approximately. I get there 2 hours after I left.
I know.
And I'm not mad at all about that. And we're not going to talk about going home because when you go to Vegas, you generally aren't interested in talking about going home for any reason. Certainly not the reverse of the time travel where it takes you a whole day legit on the clock to get home. But yeah. It's lots and lots of fun stuff. So you are giving the keynote talk at the 2025 Performing Hypnosis Summit. So we're going to do this interview a little bit different because I don't think it's appropriate for you to spill too many beans about your talk at this point, because I know that in some of these talks, including ones that I have done with like Jesse Lewis talking about my talk where I was the interviewee, I probably gave 20% of my talk in that 45-minute interview that we did. So outside of, if you want, we can share your topic, but I don't want to go too deep into the weeds here because I want especially this, it's the, kind of the pinnacle talk of the summit, to allow that to simmer a little bit. And then we can just talk about whatever you want to talk about as far as,
I don't mind talking about my topic, and my topic is on kindness. It's just on kindness, and I really was put back isn't the correct word. It'll come to me in a moment. The correct word: honored, humbled, when Grant and Jim Kellner said, we want you to be the keynote. And I don't swear, but in the message that they both sent me, I replied back, are you pooping me? Is basically what I said. I know the lyrics to the song. I just don't sing the song very often. But they said, yeah, we're totally serious. And I said, last year you had guys like Terry Stokes doing the keynote. Why me? Like, why would you have somebody like me? And it was Jim who said, you're a really warm, nice guy. You're kind and you're friendly. And we think that might be something that people would like to hear about. And I went, sure, okay. So yeah, I was honored. I really was honored. And so I'm excited to talk about kindness and being kind to each other and being kind to ourselves and being kind to our clients and our audiences, to other hypnotists. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Fantastic. I mean, it always is. And it's, I will say, you weren't there in person last year, correct? You had a conflict or something, right?
Yeah, actually there was, I was working. there was a show. But because, and one of the beautiful things I love about PHS is that they are, they do the recordings, and more importantly, they also Zoom. So I was able to be there for the most part in the end of January, in freezing Canada, living vicariously, enjoying the warmth of the speakers that were in Las Vegas. And I think that that's one of the most unique things about this conference that makes it so much more different than a lot of the other conferences that you have to attend live and in person.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that I noticed, and I'll just, dogleg this off of the kindness topic, is that I've been to a lot of conferences, and not all hypnosis conferences, but I come from a world of magic and mentalism before getting into hypnosis. You have, you were involved in, I mean, you still do. We all have times that we break that stuff out, but you came from magic before hypnosis. It's a totally, totally different feeling. And part of the reason I want to bring this up is not only to talk about, the environment that PHS is generally for those who are going for the first time, for anybody that might be out there thinking about, hey, do I register? Do I not? Is it really worth it? But I've been, and please tell me if you've shared this kind of feeling, but like when you go to a lot of the magic conferences that are out there, it's almost like there's these clicky little tiers. And if you don't belong in that group, if you don't know somebody well enough in that group, there's a wall that's up. And you're not getting into that group. Look, you're going to get into the lecture and get to hear what they talk about. But then, it's almost like they've created in some places this like, Wizard of Oz or rock star status or something where, okay, and now I've done my talk, you'll never see me again. I won't be down hanging out at the bar. I won't be doing any of this other stuff. This isn't for everybody, but there are pockets in which I've experienced that at many, many, many of these conferences. At PHS, you are rubbing elbows, hanging out, and just chit-chatting with legends of this business. And there is no like, hey, one of these days you'll get to come over here and kiss the ring type of thing. It's just like, hey, we're all here. What can I do for you? Is there something that, outside of these talks, it's like, hey, is there something that you're struggling with? Is there something I can help you with? Where do you want to be? What are you trying to do? All of this other stuff. And it's not the, what are you trying to do in that judgy sort of way, but it's, hey, how can I help you get where you're trying to go? And it's just such a friendly, kind, warm, which we can both use a little warm right now, just environment that's just so open to like, hey, what can we do for you? What can we help you with? What gaps do you need to fill,
One of my lines is the paradigm has shifted. We have gone from a mentality of I am the greatest, I'm the best, there's nobody else like me, I was the first, I'm the best, to now it's how can I help you be the best? A lot of the top guys, I mean, we're always going to have egos, especially the performing hypnotists, right? This is how we are. This is who we are. This is how God made us. We're going to have these egos, and there will always be people who butt heads. The people just below the world's greatest, whatever, who think they're the world's greatest in their own minds. The people below that are like, hey, I see you coming up. I've been watching you. Do you want to sit down and talk? And at these conferences, we can get together and we can talk to them. The first conference, I used to go, like you said, I used to go to the magic conferences. We had a few up here in Canada, and I would go to ones in the US called NICAN, New York, Canada Conference. And we would have Magie Montreal in Montreal, where a lot of like big name magicians would be. And so you'd go to these conferences, and just like you say, the big guys would come in, they do their talk, and then I don't know. Maybe they left, maybe they had shows, maybe they were gone. But like you say, I wasn't at that level where I could approach them. Or it wasn't until there was a magician. Well, one of my friends, Chris Pillsworth, he's a magician. And him and I would work together on a bunch of stuff. And Chris is a fantastic magician. And he knew a guy named Obie O'Brien, who was in charge of Fechter's Finger Flicking Frolic, which is like a card thing. So all the magicians listening to this are like, oh, 4Fs.
Hey, if you've been invited, you know what it is. And if you
exactly,
invited, you probably still know what it is.
Exactly. And so Obie would, who was in charge of 4Fs, he would say, oh, why don't you come and meet this person? And then you're invited into that. When I got into the hypnosis conferences a few years ago, going back, it was my first time going to conferences in like a decade. And the first one was Hypnothoughts. Jason Lynette, Mike Mandel, Chris Thompson said, you got to go. Your energy, your vibe, it'll fit in well. So I went, and I was just learning the names, learning who was at the tops now. And then I went to this wonderful little conference in Gaylord, Michigan, the Michigan Conference. And there was less than 100 people. And I got to meet, sit down, eat dinner, and desserts, and share beers with the people that I had seen at the other big conference, but there weren't as many other people around. And I really got to know them on a personal level. And then when PHS happened last year, and I'm looking and I'm seeing, wow, all these names, these big names that I know are there. I was like, I totally got to go. I gotta go. I gotta go in person. I gotta experience the things about conferences, attending them live. I've had a few, because I'm a stage hypnotist coach now. So I help people who are just starting out. I help them with a 10-year plan on what they're going to do in this business, whether they want to go part-time to start to supplement their income, then move into full-time. For guys who've been around for a while, I help them, with their theater shows. I consult with them on new themed shows that they want to do. Guys who've been in it for a long time, I help them with their exit strategies. And one of the things that the new people, when they call me up, I say, what training do you have? And they're like, well, I've got these. I saw these videos on YouTube. And I say, have you actually gone to a live anything, a live training, a live conference? Well, no, I haven't. And it's one of the very first things I tell them. You're going into a industry that is person to person.
Yeah.
And you do your hypnosis face to face, whether it's to one person or 25, and you can't get fully integrated into it until you do it live. And if you have experienced trainers that are there watching you, giving you suggestions you can learn from, people you can ask questions to, until you do that, I don't think you've really experienced hypnosis training. You're not ready to hit the ground yet. And then when you do, it's a lot easier. And going to these conferences and meeting these people and asking the questions that happen after the lecture. Like JoBeth, somebody will give a talk and they say, thank you very much. That's my talk. Bye for now. And you're out there in the hallway talking to them. I really liked your idea about this. Can you tell me more? And I've been thinking about doing this sort of routine. And how do you think I should go to that? Some of the marketing guys that are going to be there, I'm excited to talk to them about AI in marketing, live and in person. I know they're going to cover that in some of their talks, but let me take them aside. Let me buy them a beer and say, let me pick your brain about this. How can I go about that? These are the things that being there live and in person really amplifies a conference.
Yeah, and you get to go. There's a optional group excursion the first night downtown to see Kevin Lepine's 13 years. I think he's in his 13th year headlining this show. And this is a show that if anybody is looking to just play this name drop game, Terry Stokes was part of this show before Kevin completely took it over. So this show itself has a great lineage and history to it. But in his showroom downtown, a whole group of, obviously, it's going to be a Friday night, so there's going to be a ton of just rando Vegas tourists in there, plus probably 30, 40 hypnotists. One of the things that I do when I'm not a hypnotist, I'm always a hypnotist, but when I'm not doing that, I'm also an NFL agent. I have two clients of mine that play for the Las Vegas Raiders and live in Las Vegas. So I'm meeting up with them. I'm taking them to that show that night. You might see NFL players on that stage because I have no idea if they have any interest in hopping up on stage and playing along and being part of the game as well. We will see. But, and then afterwards, this guy who has been headlining a Las Vegas showroom for 13 years will sit down with anybody from the conference that wants to hang around. And my schedule was wonky last year. I went to his show on different nights and not when the whole group went. But apparently he stayed there, Q&A with everybody for 2 hours or something is what I heard, which is it's exceptional. You're not getting that anywhere else.
You're probably too young to remember this, but when I started, there was a a couple of hypnotists that their motto was when the show was over, people just wanted to come up and they wanted to ask them questions about hypnosis. How did you get started? How long have you been doing this? I mean, you and I both get it now, and because I was one of those people, and and these hypnotists at the time, I mean, this is the 80s, 90s, and they would say, show's over. Show's over. Come to the next show. That's it. And they just leave for whatever reason. They didn't want the competition. They had to go to the next show, whatever it was. Being Canadian, I give them benefit of the doubt. They probably were too busy. But it was just like, show's over. No more questions. I'm off. And it's the paradigm has shifted. Nobody's going to put up with you anymore if you do that. If you're a performer and you just like, Kevin is such a nice guy. I mean, I've spent some time with Kevin years ago, and he's just such a giving, kind person. He'll chat with you. He showed me where a place called Ice Pan was, and I think it was in Harrah's when I visited him. He said, "Have you ever had Ice Pan?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Okay, I'll show you." And we'll go. This is before one of his shows and stuff. So it was just like really kind to take the time to talk to these people, and it doesn't take any more time. It doesn't, like, I mean, to be honest, a lot of the people that are going to PHS and are going to go to Kevin's show probably don't have aspirations of working full-time in Vegas, maybe, headline for a couple of weeks or something like that. Maybe they do. That's what they want. And here's their opportunity to talk to a guy who's been doing it for a long time. Mark Savard was another gracious person who had a show at the Planet Hollywood there for a long time. And he would take the time, if he knew you were a hypnotist and you let him know in advance, you're not sitting in the audience timing how long his induction takes and taking notes on all his skits. That's doing that. You're just like, you're being I don't know what the word for donkey is, but you
just said it.
Okay. It's just sit back and enjoy the performance, and then go up afterwards and say, "Wow, that was fantastic." We love it. Like, you and I both love it when the audience comes up and says, "Wow, that was fantastic. Thank you very much."
Here's the other thing that it is. Okay, you're doing shows at different venues, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, that when I go back to where my merch is and people are coming up and asking me all of my questions, that is the pulse.
Oh, I like that a lot.
I like figure out, am I getting rebooked? I know before I have a conversation with the booker if I'm ever going to be in this room for this purpose again in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can feel from those people, or if you lay an egg one night and everybody just beelines it for their cars, you can feel whether or not you're getting invited back. And I oftentimes don't need to ask the person who hired me, "Hey, when you want to do this again?" I already know. And one of the cool things about Kevin, which is kind of off the topic here, but not, you're talking about kindness and people in this industry that just give. If you were to so I'm going to put this challenge out there. Okay. So for anybody that doesn't know him and he doesn't know you, go to the show Thursday night. Don't introduce yourself to him before the show. Just be a fly on the wall and go out into the lobby where he's meeting people and the merch is there and you can take pictures with him and everything like that. And pay attention, because this man takes the time to legit asks each and every person he talks to where are you staying? And then if they're not staying downtown, he makes sure you're not walking back there, right? You're Ubering or whatever. You know, the whole safety and ethics things that when you train with him, he starts with, that's genuine. That is him. That is not just him on stage. That is not just him in hypnosis mode so that he doesn't get sued. That is him. He is making sure that everybody that comes to his show is safe. And then he'll start talking to them if he gets the feel that they're talkative and want to engage. And be like, how much longer are you here in town? Is there any type of food that you're looking for? Any type of experience that you're looking for?
Yep.
He inserts himself absolutely, obviously at no charge, gratuitously to be like, hey, I'm going to be your tour guide for a moment here. What do you want to? Oh, and it'll be like, oh, you're staying at Bellagio. Have you seen this? Or you're staying there. Have you seen that? And he knows this town that he's in, and is not only does he share his expertise and his art on stage, but he's always sharing all the way down to that last minute when that last person walks out the door. And it's just so again, that challenge is go there when he doesn't know who you are and see that this is happening. He's not just putting on this show because people that he knows are watching. This is just him. This is just who he is, what he does. And it's really, there's just so much of that in the whole community at PHS, which is great. I mean, not necessarily the tour guide thing, because most of us are it's like, I could tell you a couple of things, but that's the guy that really lives here and knows,
Cheap hot dogs and beer at the Stage Door Casino, just around from, I think it's the Flamingo. My buddy Big Kevin and I found that out. So there's my tourist information for you.
Yeah. You want the cheaper table limits, go keep walking down Fremont Street to that point that you think that it stops, and then it really just keeps going. There's cheaper stuff over there.
Yeah.
Definitely. Little tidbits there
for sure. The other thing too is that I not only I submitted a proposal to speak when I told them I was going, and so I'm also doing a talk on 7 stealth tips to book more gigs, to close more gigs, because when we're there's going to be other people talking about how to get the phone ringing, how to get sales coming in. And I put it together because I realized that the personalization has kind of gone out of sales, of selling the shows anymore. And so I'm going to give folks 7 tips to bring it back. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I don't have it here, but I have my postcards already printed. One of the things that I'm known for is these crazy postcards that I make. That instead of, like, a lot of people will give out notes for their talk, or they'll be like, if you want to get the PowerPoint slides, just fill out this contact sheet with your email address and that sort of stuff. Great for capturing contact information. But I just give out these postcards with all the notes already on it, and in a creative way. So it's that's pretty cool.
awesome.
Some people even put them on their fridge, and they've had them there for years. So I think that's great. But I'm really looking forward to coming to PHS, and it's going to be a lot of fun, especially to meet up with you again.
Yeah. Always a good time. Always a good time to hang out with Richard Cole. First time I guess we met in person was this past September in Michigan. We had many chats virtually and like this, thanks to the International Stage Hypnosis Association. Well, I totally blanked knowing that you were the keynote on looking at the schedule that I've clearly looked at like 50 times to reach out to people about booking these, and even knowing that you were doing this other talk, which is fantastic. when you go to these talks at PHS, take the information and do something with it, please. This is advice that's not directly in my talk for how to survive your first year as a stage hypnotist, but it probably should be. So here's a little bonus preview or bonus info. There's a lot of valuable stuff, and understand that the folks that are speaking here, this isn't, hey, I'm going to share some stuff that I think might work, because up here it sounds like it should work. No, these are, how long have you been doing this, Richard? Just hypnosis. Let's not scroll back to the magic days.
28 years full time.
28 years full time. And for the most part, you're booking your own gigs, right? You don't have some pro agent that's out there putting you to work. I mean, you might get some gigs that way, but the bulk of it, you're booking this yourself.
Yep. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the behind the scenes aspects of performing. But I'm at that level in my career where I kind of enjoy the hands-on approach.
But the point is these 7 tips aren't 7 tips that you read in a book and said, hey, it might be cool to share that with people. And maybe you read some of these in various books over the years, but these are field-tested things that you do, have been doing. You know that they work. You know why they work. You know how they work. And folks that are here speaking at the conference, they're not sharing theoretical stuff with you. They're sharing stuff that they've used, have been using for years, have had success with, and, want others, because we know that there are really so few of us out here that we're not really possible. It's not possible for us. I mean, sure, we might compete for a gig or 2 here and there. I mean, we're far enough away that that's not happening, but you might have somebody in the next town over or whatever that you compete with on some gigs, but for the most part, there's substantially more work for us than there are performers to do that work. That's one of the things I talk about, was that early on in my career, I was losing some shows, and I was kind of a little upset about losing these shows, and I found out I was losing it to a new guy who was coming in. I mean, he was only a year behind me, and I thought, like we all do, he's undercutting me or undercharging. I come to find out he wasn't undercharging. He was charging more than I was charging, and so he was getting a little better level of clients, and still doing a great show. And one day he called me and he said, look, I can't make a show. Can you fill in for me and do the show? Well, what am I going to say? No. Hey, you're my competition. Forget about it. I'm not filling in. So we became friends. We became friends that way by helping each other. And it ended up turning into a synergistic relationship. And I still have it now. There are new people coming up. My friend in Saskatchewan, Jesse Lewis, because I've been around for so long, people across Canada are calling me and saying, can you do a show? Here's our budget. And I'm like, it's not worthwhile of me to fly out and do that show. However, I have a friend in the area, a colleague who's closer to you and can do the show. So I'll call up Jesse and I'll say, Jesse, there's a show in Saskatchewan that needs you. Or a friend of mine, Wayne Lee in Alberta. And I'll call him. I'm sending a client your way. If you're in the mindset that you need every single show, then you need to readjust your business model. Like, yeah. I know that there are some guys still who've been doing this longer than I have been doing it, who bust their donkey traveling across Canada, rushing or across America, rushing for flights, complaining about the flights, how close it was, complaining about rental cars and stuff.
because they have to fly out to do a show in somewhere's Noville, and that for the same amount that they would get in their regular hometown.
Yeah.
And then they have to fly to a different spot, make a connecting, and then drive 500 miles or walk 500 more just to get to that venue. And it's like, I'm like, why don't you just farm that out, take a cut, be kind,
Right.
and do that. You're not, I don't know. I don't understand. I step back and I look at these people. I love everybody. I'll have a beer with anybody. Well, maybe only one with some people, but it's, I want to talk to these people, and I want to find out what drives them over the edge, so that they're working hard. They're really working hard. They're not working smart.
Yeah.
And when you come from a mindset of prosperity or abundance, there's lots of work out there for us. I might not get this one, or I might get it, but it would be better for the client if I recommended somebody else. That person, I mean, it's, that person's gonna say thank you for sending me the gig, and the next time something comes up in Seattle or Alabama, I'm gonna send something your way. At least that's what I believe. And that's how I live my life, and that's how I run my business. It's been successful for 28 years, so
Yeah.
not sure what I'm doing right.
Hey, keep doing it though, and of course, be kind and share it with others. So we've been here for a while. I think we should let people go. Save it all for save everything left for Vegas and PHS. So look, if you are interested in seeing the first time that Richard and I talked on one of these on YouTube and maybe on Facebook, I don't know, because you want to talk to somebody that knows how they're doing this kind of stuff, go find Grant Saunders at PHS. He knows 10 times more. I've forgotten more than that, like, it's just he's forgotten more than I know about live streaming. That's the right phrase to say there. But I think that it definitely in the description on YouTube, you will see a link to the previous talk. You also, if for whatever reason you haven't registered yet, there's a registration link there, and everything like that. Would love to see more folks. I know it's I've got the feeling that this thing's going to be probably almost twice the size in person than it was last year, which is fantastic. More to share with more folks, and lots of great presenters. The amazing Richard Cole doing not just a regular talk with these 7 great ideas on how to close these gigs and how to personalize your approach with these gigs, which is super important stuff if you want to separate yourself. And of course, the keynote talk.
The opening keynote, it starts like they come out and they say, here's the bathroom over here. Here's the coffee station over here. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Canada, that hypnotist guy, Richard Cole. So
that's
no
right,
pressure.
Awesome. Well, have a great evening, or whenever it is that you guys are watching this. We'll see you I'll be there in 2 weeks, and so will Richard. So have a great evening. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Between Two Minds Behind the Scenes podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media under Between Two Minds with the number 2 instead of TWO, or under Enter the Impossible. Thank you, and we hope to see you back for the next episode.
Maybe go away. Oh, that's the wrong one. Yeah, like I said, Grant's forgotten more about this stuff than I know.
It says we're live. 45.
Oh, whoops.
That was all.